G'day, Josh here with another Chess Rush video, and in this video I would like to break down the way that items now work in Treasure Arena and what all of the possible upgrades are, as well as exactly what each item does. So we're going to start off with the Greatsword. Now, as you can probably tell by the graphic, item upgrades now work by combining two of the same item, sharing, or if one hero already has a Greatsword and you give that hero another Greatsword, you'll be given an option to choose of one of the four items below. All four items will appear with a little bit of text explaining what each does, and you will then get to choose what that upgrade is, and that will permanently turn those two Greatswords into that upgraded item. So on its own, actually I think it's called Longsword, by the way. I think that might be a mistake on my end. I think it is actually called Longsword. On its own, the Longsword just increases attack damage by 50. But in order of from left to right, you can then choose to upgrade two Longswords by turning them into a Critical Greatsword, a Hawkeye Scope, a Fanatic's Charm, or an Agent Emblem. The Critical Greatsword increases attack damage by 100, and it gives you a 30% chance to deal 2 times damage. The Hawkeye Scope increases attack damage by 100, and this is a pattern. All of them will actually increase your attack damage by 100, so it will be as though you have two Greatswords or Longswords equipped, but it'll also do something else as well. So the bonus that you get with the Hawkeye Scope is it automatically, the hero equipped with the Hawkeye Scope automatically attacks the enemy with the lowest HP and increases attack range by 1. Fanatic's Charm gives you plus 30% lifesteal, and Agent Emblem means that you gain the Assassin class. Keep in mind that when you gain a class, it doesn't replace any of the hero's current classes, it just adds a new class. Next up, we have Dagger. By default, Dagger increases attack speed by 20. Combining two daggers will give you one of the below items, all of which will increase your attack speed by 40, but they'll also do Storm Strike on the left, will also increase each attack speed by an additional 10, stacking up to 8 times. Shocking Dagger will provide you a 30% chance to trigger lightning, dealing 300 magic damage to the target and 2 other enemies nearby. Then Phantom Blades summons one clone around the hero with 50% of the hero's HP and attack damage and all their attack effects. And finally, Gale Bow gains the Hunter class. Now, I think it's worth noting also, while I am going through these, I am doing this based on information prior to the global launch of the latest update. So some of the icons may change and some of the numbers may be tweaked a little bit, but I think we're pretty close to all of the actual stats. It's just not all the I think the icons are pretty much spot on, but there might be a couple of changes just yet. Now, one of the items, Phantom Blades, the one that summons a clone around the hero with 50% of the hero's HP and attack damage and all of their attack effects, that is a crazy item. And in my opinion, it is without a doubt the best item to upgrade the daggers into. So with that being said, I think we should actually go back to the Greatsword and have a look at the item that I think is most useful there. Now, I have experimented a little bit with Hawkeye Scope in Treasure Raider because some of these items have been used in Treasure Raider and some are brand new. It doesn't work as well on melee heroes, but it seems to work okay with ranged heroes. The fact that it increases the range a bit is useful as well. But I think that the best item to equip to a hero when combining two longswords is actually the Fanatic's Charm, which increases your lifesteal by 30%. I think that's really, really crazy in keeping a hero alive. So basically the third item across, in my opinion, is the best upgrade for two longswords, increasing your lifesteal by 30. The third item across, once again, the Phantom Blades, is the best item to combine two daggers into, in my opinion. It essentially summons a half strength, half attack clone that benefits from all of the combos and has all their attack effects, which is absolutely crazy. Now we're going to move on to Staff. So by default, one staff increases a hero's ability power by 15. And then if you combine two staves, you increase, all of these items will increase ability power by 30. And the bonus effects are, so first on the left, Glory Grail increases the hero's ability power by an additional 25%. So a big increase. Spellbane Staff Abilities reduce target's magic resist by 40% for 2 seconds, especially good on heroes that have area of effect spells, because then that targets multiple heroes. Blazing Edge, the abilities or a hero's abilities may ignite enemies, dealing magic damage equal to 10% of their max HP over 5 seconds and decreasing their healing by 50%. I'm not sure how often may ignite is, but to me, once again, that it seems the absolute craziest to me. So, and then finally, on the right-hand side, the Magician's Emblem gains the Sorcerer class. So, without knowing 100%, I'm just starting to sense a pattern here that I think that the first item here is good. The second item is even better, and the third item is amazing, while the fourth gives you a class or a range switch up. So sometimes that's going to be what you really want, because it's going to make you pull off impossible combos or whatever. But otherwise, unless you specifically need one of these two abilities, I think going for the third seems to be a pretty safe bet. And we're going to continue on here and see if that is the case. So the next one that we are looking at is the Mana Gem. So once again, the base Mana Gem increases a hero's initial mana by 15. And then if you combine two of them, all of the upgrades will increase a hero's initial mana by 30. And then we also have the Echo Charm, first on the left, decreases the ability cooldown by 50%. That can be very powerful on the right hero. The Grim Ring, normal attacks have a 40% chance to steal 20 mana from targets. Once again, can be pretty significant on the right hero. It's shutting a hero down, essentially. Then the Ritual Blade, after casting an ability, the subsequent normal attack inflicts 150 magic damage on top of the regular damage. So I think in terms of pure damage output, that might be the strongest there. And then Dragon Blood changes a hero's race to dragon. So if it's a goblin, it will become a dragon. It will no longer be a goblin. If it's an elf, it will turn into a dragon. So unlike the classes, the races swap out the race. So do keep that in mind. You won't be able to have an elf and a dragon. It'll just be a dragon, no longer an elf, or it'll just be a dragon, no longer a demon, for instance. So that one's a little bit closer, but I still think it kind of follows a pattern, although all three of those are actually really quite good in my opinion, depending on the type of build you're going for. Next up, we have the HP Gem. By default, it increases a hero's HP by 500, and obviously the upgraded items increase the hero's HP by 1,000. Then on the left-hand side, Source of Life recovers 2% of max HP every second. So it doesn't matter how much damage you've taken. I believe that's based on what a hero's max would be if they were at 100% HP. I feel like I have an eyebrow in my eye at this point in time. Try and get rid of that. Next up is Lone Wolf Helmet. If there are no allies within 1 squares at the beginning of a battle, then the hero gains 40 armor and a shield with 50% of max HP. And that can actually be very strong used in the right situation. And then First Aid Charm, when HP drops below 30%, recovers, I believe it says 200 here, but I think it's 2,000. When HP drops below 30%, recovers 2,000 HP for the hero and all allies within 2 squares. So that, once again, is crazy. If you're packed into a corner, you could be gaining like 10k health among 5 heroes all of a sudden. So once again, I think it follows a pattern that the third item is the strongest, but all of those, once again, any of these items are absolutely fantastic used in the right situation. And then the fourth item there, the Demon Horn, changes the race to demon. Then we have Armor Up. So if you have 1 armor increases a hero's armor by 20, and then 2 of them, or the upgraded items, will increase a hero's armor by 40. And then on the left-hand side, we have Spell Fire Armor. It deals 60 magic damage to all enemies within 1 squares every second. Then we have the Freezing Crystal. Freezes an enemy in the opposite position for 8 seconds at the beginning of a battle. This may be my favorite item. Freezing an enemy for 8 seconds at the beginning of a battle can basically take that enemy completely out of the fight. Now, it's not quite that simple because you still have to deal it damage to kill it. And while you're dealing it damage, it will generate mana. So if you haven't killed it in the 8 seconds, it might just come back to it might warm up, thaw out with full mana and still get its ability off. But often, if used correctly, you'll straight up be able to just freeze a hero and kill it before it does any damage, which is absolutely crazy. The next one, Icicle Gloves. Normal attacks have a 25% chance to freeze targets for 1.5 seconds. That item is also quite crazy, especially if used on an item that has incredibly fast attack speed, like a Berserker, like a Unicorn Cavalier, something like that. So both of those items are absolutely very, very strong. But I think my favorite is the Freezing Crystal. And then finally, Forest Protection changes a hero's race to Elf. I think that Armor Up has gone from an item that the defensive armor I wasn't necessarily that interested in most of the time. I preferred attack items or staves or tomes, but all of a sudden with these upgrade options, Armor Up is very, very interesting. Definitely very interesting. And then finally we have Cloak. So we have 7 base items essentially now. So Cloak increases a hero's magic resist by 20. Combine 2 of them and all the upgrades increase magic resist by 40. So the first one on the left, Cloak of the Phoenix, revives with 1,000 HP 2 seconds after being killed. I don't know how I feel about that one. I've tried to make it work in Treasure Raider before. The hero just doesn't have that much HP when it comes back to life. So it basically just dies again straight away. So unless it's like a Hog Rider that gets a stun off when it dies, I'm not sure that it's a super useful item, but hey, it's definitely an option and it could be abused if used correctly. The next one is Magician's Cape, which offers an additional 25% magic resist on top of the base 40% or 40 magic resist. So the total magic resist being 65. Then Resistance Cloak is the third one across. It reflects 30% of ability damage back to the attackers. So that is without a doubt the strongest one of those 3 items. And finally, in the 4th position, and this is an interesting one, Gag. We move away from the change a race or add a class, and this one is enemy heroes take 400 magic damage every time they use an ability. This is any enemy, wherever they are on the board, it doesn't matter, range is not an issue. It's not a lot of magic damage, but it's every enemy every time they use an ability. So that can definitely add up quite quickly. So I personally feel like the Cloak items are probably the weaker options. So when you're playing Treasure Arena, I would probably avoid picking up the Cloaks when you are in the arena. You're looking and you're able to move and pick up items. I would obviously recommend picking up any item you've already got 1 copy of so you can make upgrades. And Cloak would probably be the lowest on my list in most builds. But there are certainly some fantastic upgradable items in the new Treasure Arena mode, and I really hope that they do make their way to ranked as well, as it will just continue to mix up the meta so much. So please let me know in the comments below what your favorite items are. I'm very curious to find out. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Make sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, I'll see you later.